Hello, hey, hi. This is David Richardson. I'm going to show you a picture of myself in a few minutes during this presentation. I want to first introduce you to the purpose of this entire process, this video. This is a PowerPoint presentation, and what you see on the screen is actually what it's all about. The Suitland Civic Association is a proposal for the Suitland community to become a city. We want to become a city like the city of Bowie, like the city of District Heights, or like the city of Forest Heights, there are Hyattsville. There are many Upper Marlboro. There are many cities in the Prince George's County family, and we're going to be talking about the communities in this county who are not cities and what it means in terms of those communities becoming cities. Well, as a member of the Suitland Civic Association, this proposal is to introduce to the association, and you are members of the state of Maryland, and specifically in the Suitland Camp Springs area, how to incorporate into a city and can become the city of Suitland, Maryland, or the Suitland, Maryland city. I would want to look at it. You notice that Bowie is the city of Bowie, and Hyattsville is a city. All these different cities in the county, and Prince George's County is one of the largest counties in the United States, that we're going to show in a few minutes. Now, you notice on the map that you see was done. All this is the data that was produced by the Park and Planning. I didn't have anything to do with many of the data here, and when I get to the data that I am responsible for putting in here, I'm going to tell you what I'm responsible for putting in. But many of the data that you're going to see in this presentation are going to come from other sources. And you see on the screen, looking at the zip codes, there are even zip codes on the, as you see on the screen, that the 220, that's in Southeast Washington. But Suitland encompasses part, well, no, it doesn't encompass any part of the District of Columbia, but Suitland is separated by the District of Columbia, and the zip codes are what the Park and Planning has put on here. So you see zip codes like 20746 is primarily you see for Suitland's Silver Hill, but yet you see 20748, that's part of Temple Hill. You see 20762, that's on the screen, part of Hanson Creek, and you see a 20747, that's part of District Heights, as I may have already said. But there are very many zip codes in the Prince George's County, and 207 is most likely going to give you an indication as to where they are. And there's something about you knowing about your zip code. Your zip code has a whole lot to do with your prosperity, and believe it or not, but it really does. Now I'm going to go on. The next slide is going to be introducing you to a video, and I want you to pay close attention to the video, because if you live in the Prince George's County, specifically in the Suitland metropolitan area, or the Suitland community. Don't want to say metropolitan area. The city of Suitland. I mean I keep saying the city because I'm thinking about Suitland being a city. The community of Suitland. If you live in the community of Suitland, then the video are going to be closely related to what I'm speaking of, and what the video is trying to tell you as a person living in Prince George's County. Okay, so watch this video.
My expectations for this academic year, as in all other years, is that students will reach their full academic potential. We will graduate all seniors within a 4-year time span, and literally that every student will leave every class every day with something more that they did not come into that classroom with. School safety for me is an all-encompassing specter whereby all members of the Suitland High School community, be that staff, students, parents, and community partners, proactively work together to ensure that the daily goings-on at Suitland High School are conducted in a firm and fair fashion, and the overall academic program is not disturbed by unwanted behaviors. Suitland High School asserts safety in a number of ways, either indirect or direct surveillance. We have protocols in place. We have a number of people who work with us, and collaboration is always the key. We have people who do things, be it from ensuring that visitors come into our main offices and sign in through our Raptor system, to security who are stationed at various points in the building, as well as roaming around to ensure that outsiders do not gain entry, and making sure that people, number one, go where they're supposed to go, two, be where they're supposed to be, and three, we're properly identifying all persons. Our security team, first of all, works collaboratively with the administrative team to ensure that the general environment in Suitland High School is safe, orderly, and most of all, there's a preservation of the academic arena, whereby students are able to focus all their energies on the academics as opposed to worrying about extracurricular things that may take away from that. That includes working with local law enforcement, routing our buses in and out every day, supervising students while they're in the halls, and again, being constantly on patrol and in posted places to ensure that student safety is always one of the things that we pay most attention to. Our mandatory uniform colors are freshmen, khaki pants and a white shirt, sophomores, khaki pants and a gray shirt, juniors, khaki pants and a red shirt, seniors, khaki pants and a black shirt. The uniform policy is one that was voted on by our PTSA. The expectation is always that your uniform corresponds to what your coding is in school max. If you are an 11th grader, even though you may be graduating, the expectation is that you will wear a red shirt as opposed to wearing a black shirt that seniors normally wear. The consequences for being out of uniform can range anywhere from cafeteria duty to parent shadowing to reflective essays and even in-school suspension. We do, however, have some students who continue to be non-compliant with our uniform policy, and in those very extreme cases, students have been actually sent out of school and served an out-of-school suspension. This is, however, a last resort, and it's something that we certainly did not look to do. But again, we do have students who just for whatever reason feel like they don't want to follow the rules. Students and parents should always read the Student Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, because that's the guiding document for 1, expectations from staff, 2, expectations for students, 3, reactions to disciplinary violations and infractions, and 4, it's like I said, it's an all-encompassing document that serves as a roadmap for how to safely and successfully navigate Prince George's County Public Schools. SchoolMax is our online grading and attendance portal whereby parents and students are able to see grading and attendance information in real time. Any student and parent has access either via the PGCPS website or also through the SIS app, which is available for all smartphones. Grading error, attendance error, things like that. If your first point of contact should always be the classroom teacher, as they are the ones who are continually entering information daily. If there is another issue, I would suggest going to your guidance counselor, as they can point you in the right direction, but you always want to start with your classroom teacher, and they can generally solve 90 to 95% of the SchoolMax related issues.
The Center for Visual and Performing Arts at Suitland High School is it's a very special program where students are able to experience growth and achieve aspirations with regards to the arts. So we have disciplines for visual and performing arts. So we have theater, we have music, which is instrumental and choral. We have also TV production, media, and we have dance. So all 5 of those disciplines are the ones that we have in the Center for Visual and Performing Arts. It is a special program that has been here at Suitland High School for well over 30 years. And our students are very, very high performing and competitive when they leave CVPA. An application process, it's going to change this year because the date of when we put the applications out will be at a different time. And so all of that's going to be new, but there is an application process. Then after the application process, there is an audition, and then there's a review of the auditions, and then the students find out if they have been able to get into the program or what kind of supports that they need to get in the program, and they must have a specific grade point average to be able to be accepted into the program.
We have a number of support programs, and these programs are designed to help students deal with issues that don't necessarily happen inside the classroom. Some of the support programs we have are programs such as Hillside Work Youth Connection, Child Trends, Youth Connect. Our biggest and most exciting program obviously is our Kevin Durant College Track partnership, which starts this year. It's a 10-year, $10 million commitment whereby we will track a minimum of 75 to 100 incoming ninth graders, literally from the summer prior to their ninth grade year through their undergraduate college experience.
Thank you so much for coming. Please drive safely and know that we will have a great year for you. Together, we will make it happen. Blessings and good night.
All right, now here is a complete. Well, you see on the scene it says complete elimination. Examination and limitation. Well, the new 2018 tax law is what this is somewhat encompassing as well, and it also is specifically designed for you, the local community, to know about your local tax. We really are talking about your local tax as far as what I have presented, and to show you how your local tax mean a whole lot to you in your local community. And we're talking about the community of Suitland, Maryland, and District Heights, and also Temple Hills, and also Hampton Creek, and Forest Heights, and other areas in the metropolitan area of Suitland, of the metropolitan area of District of Columbia. What I'm trying to say. Let's see what we're talking about on the screen here. It says Prince George's County is a county equivalent area found in Maryland, United States. The county government of Prince George's County is found in the county seat of Upper Marlboro. Stop now. Upper Marlboro is the county seat for Prince George's County, and all counties in the United States have a county seat. Upper Marlboro just happened to be the county seat for Prince George's County, with a total of 1,291.98 square kilometers in land and water areas. Prince George's County, Maryland, is the 2,187th largest county equivalent area in the United States of America. So you see, I'm going to keep on, but you see, we are not just a little county. Okay, home of, now this is old data. This data is real old, and I just want you to know that before I get finished with this. So this information came from Park and Planning. Home of 904,430 people, Prince George's County has a total of 329,324 households, earning $73,623 per average year. Now, again, this is old data. We're now in the year 2019. I believe that the data that we're showing was collected in 2010. So you see, we're 9 years behind with the data, or at least 5, but I know that we're behind. Prince George's County, Maryland, offers the following attractions and visitors centers. Now, I've added, to see in the red, that's data I've added, but Six Flags, Anacostia Park, Fort Foote Park, which is in Fort Washington area, Fort Washington Park, which is in Fort Washington area, Greenbelt in the Greenbelt area, Hominy Hall, Suitland Parkway. Prince George's County is a home of professional sports. A team like the Redskins. It has one primary metro station, which is at the Suitland Road, and also at the end of that is in the Andrews Air Force Base goes on, and Andrews Air Force Base encompasses Camp Springs, and Camp Springs is also a part of the Suitland, as we're going to see in a few minutes. And there's also, you see in red, added a harbor, because the information that you see in the yellow in the part of Prince George's County was not there when this information was obtained from Park and Planning. So, but Harbor, Maryland, and I honestly believe that I think Harbor, Maryland, which encompasses part of Oxon Hill, Maryland, zip code 20745, but I don't hold into this, but I believe that Harbor, Maryland now has its own zip code, and it's not as large as in terms of the area as Oxon Hill. So let us go on with this information, and I hope that I'm not taking up too much of your time, but it's very important for you to see what we're really trying to present in this presentation. Okay, so now major cities, Hyattsville population. Now, this is old data. Remember now, this is old information. We're in 2019, January 2019, and it said Hyattsville, Maryland had a population of 154,000, and Bowie has a population of 97,000, but Marlboro 87,000. Laurel, Maryland, which is also in part of Prince George's County, but some parts of Laurel, Maryland encompasses Howard County and Arundel County, and Laurel, Maryland is a huge area, but it encompasses in 2 or 3 different counties. What I'm trying to provide out. Fort Washington has a population of 51,000 at the time of this data. District Heights at the time of this data 40,000. Temple Hills at the time of this data 39,000. And Lanham, Maryland, at the time of this data had 39,485. Capitol Heights had a population of 39,413, and College Park had a population of 37,338. Now, these data, as I said earlier, were taken at an earlier time. Now, what is missing? Well, I want you to see, because these are cities. So you notice communities like Suitland and some of the Capitol Heights, I mean, not Capitol Heights, but Hillcrest Heights and some of the other communities, Oxon Hill, those counties are not listed because they are not cities, if you can understand what the point of this information is. So the local income tax proposed for the city of Suitland is what this is really all about, to show you how you can use the local tax once you incorporate it as a city. And I'm going to have that information also. It means that your local tax dollar comes back to the community as opposed to staying in the hand of the person who collect the tax, which is the state of Maryland. State of Maryland collects state as well as local tax. And if you don't have a city, then you don't have a means to dispense or use the local tax that are collected by the state, and you'd have to wait until the state decides to use those local tax dollars in your community, even though you've paid the tax. So that's what this really presentation is summing up on. Make sure you stop these slides and pay attention. And I also want to apologize because you're going to hear a little sound in a minute about where I get these pop-ups from different people on Facebook and Twitter. Give pop-ups, and these days the internet would allow people to interrupt what you're doing on the internet with pop-ups. So we're going to go on now. The Suitland Road Metro Station, and this is 2 pages of this because we're going to show you the parking as well as the metro station and data about the metro station. These data I said earlier were collected from the parking planning. Now, one thing that's not listed in this presentation is the metro station in Camp Springs. Now, the metro station in Camp Springs, what it is located on the Andrews Air Force Base in terms of the area of Camp Springs, but yet it still services Camp Springs. And we would want those data to also be included in the incorporation because of the area of Camp Springs and where it is located. And it's a small community compared to other communities because Camp Springs also encompasses Clinton, Hanson Creek, as it were. So you see, and also other different areas. Morningside, which is a city, and Morningside, the city of Morningside, is not considered to be Suitland, but yet it's all right in part of the neighborhood. So again, this is part of the subway metro stations. They're giving you the parking and the size of the parking lots and things of that nature. Okay, now.
The town of Eatonville, Florida serves as a monument to the end of slavery and the preservation of African American history. It's a place like no other. 6 miles outside of Orlando, Florida, lies a hidden jewel known as Eatonville, a place filled with a history of courage, progress, and the spirit of a people who were determined to make a better life for themselves while inspiring hope for the future.
Eatonville was founded by Joe Clark, who bought land from Josiah Eaton, who was willing to sell land to Joe Clark, a black man who had money to buy it.
22 acres of land was sold and donated to Joe Clark and others who took that land and decided to incorporate and build their own community. Historian Nwana Theory says finding a safe place to live after the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 wasn't easy. Escaping the plague of racism was key as the creation of race colonies grew.
A significant number of thinking black people said, this is not going to work. If we can't live in security then with whites, then we need to move on out and found communities where we can live
On August 15, 1887, Eatonville became a reality, proudly called the town that freedom built.
What makes it so special is we're self-governed. When we talk about being the oldest black municipality.
The town was built on the principles of education, family, community, and religion, core values that stand to this day.
St. Lawrence African Methodist Episcopal Church is a cornerstone in the community of Eatonville. This is the oldest church in the United States of America from a black perspective.
The church was founded in 1881. That's 6 years before the town of Eatonville, a location where founders met to discuss the future of their new town.
There's no ville like Eatonville, and that's true because we are unique in our own way. We feel that we set a precedent for other black communities.
You can see here that, for example, even the water pump in the back of it.
Nathiri believes it's important to preserve the past. She works with others to restore the town's most legendary buildings, like the Thomas House.
Its last incarnation was as a private home. It was at one time the church. It was at one time a library. It was at one time a gambling hall. This building has had at least 4 lives.
Eatonville native and author Zora Neale Hurston, best known for her book Their Eyes Were Watching God, brought attention to the town, along with a yearly arts festival held in her honor.
Zora Neale Hurston was a maverick who recognized the beauty of her people.
Whether it's the paintings that line St. Lawrence Church or the murals and paved roads along Kennedy Boulevard, it's all proof that Eatonville has come a long way, along with a legacy of hope. A legacy that will never be forgotten.
Eatonville, we're going to keep on keeping on.
It's a part of the American saga. It incorporates so much of what is quintessentially American.
The town of Eatonville is planning to celebrate their 125th anniversary in 2012. Reporting in Eatonville, Florida, I'm Chandrea Thomas.
Is the map of Suitland, okay? The map of Suitland, as I said earlier, showed it earlier, is giving you the population of Suitland and these other communities around Suitland. The previous slide we talked about were the cities. What we're talking about now are the communities within the Prince George's County family. In the community of Suitland, if you can see the map, Suitland, Silver Hill, all that's 20746. And outside of the Silver Hill, Suitland area is 20747. That's considered to be District Heights, and District Heights has its own mayor, its own city, but yet it still is encompassed here. So we're not talking about adding those cities to our city, but we are talking about the communities within this Suitland area to add them as in 20748. That's Camps Temple Hills, and that could be the entire city. And Temple Hills may have its own civic association. I don't know. Camp Springs, I believe, have their own civic association. But what we're really talking about is for all of those communities within the Suitland family, Temple Hills, Camp Springs, that's considered to be the Suitland family because we all right here together to become a city. And that means we would have more to say about the local tax dollar coming into the Camp Springs area, coming into the Temple Hills area, coming into the Suitland area, to the Hanson Creek area, to the Hillcrest area, and perhaps some part of Oxon Hill that does not stretch out into the Fort Washington family Accokeek area. But what we're talking about are these data. Now, you notice these data were taken at a time, 2010. These data you see here, that was taken by the Park and Planning in 2010, 9 years ago when you look at the span of time, because we're now in January of 2019. So just to give you an idea of what we are really trying to present in this presentation is to show how and why we are doing this, simply because of the process. Now, I want you to watch this upcoming video. The upcoming video is to give an idea and make a comparison between the Suitland community and other communities. And it's really amazing how easy it is to become a city after you incorporate, and how it would affect the citizens of the city, or the community as it were in this case. But in this particular video, please pay close attention to the information that's being presented and making a comparison between the city that's being presented and why it's being presented in the manner that it is, and also comparing it with the community of the communities that we see listed on this slide here, Camp Springs, Temple Hills, etc. Okay.
Unincorporated communities are essentially places that are not part of a city, so they don't get the services that a city might provide, like police or sewer service or even water in some instances. For example, in Riverside County, there are some unincorporated communities in Mecca and Thermal that are still using cesspools, pits dug into the ground for wastewater, several hundred feet away from mobile home parks. And when I say wastewater, I mean raw sewage. One community that I visited specifically, it's called Rancho Garcia, and there was a couple there that I met, the Duartes. They had been living there for several years, living in a pretty ramshackle apartment, and the wastewater system is very mysterious there. It was built with septic tanks, 2 houses per septic tank, but over time the community has gotten more dense and the wastewater system just hasn't kind of kept pace with what's needed there. So as a result, there's a lot of backup into toilets and homes. On the day that I visited the Duartes, it was a very hot May afternoon, and some wastewater began to just spurt from the ground. A shallow pipe had broken, and there was essentially a wastewater fountain. They tend to get a lot of backup of other people's sewer water into their shower. Alicia Duarte told me that sometimes she can only really take 2-minute showers or less because that's when the water starts to back up, and she doesn't like the idea of standing in other people's wastewater. She has a pretty sizable sore on her leg that she thinks won't heal because of the wastewater. It's a pretty stark situation when it comes to health. I think what's always struck me about this story is the way in which California is such a resource-rich state. It's the home of Silicon Valley. It's a place where there's so much technology and growth and modernity, but there are places in California that are overlooked and that kind of get stuck in almost a bygone era, and they've just, through reasons related to politics and money, haven't received the kinds of modern upgrades that you might expect. So in the very worst cases, there are individuals who are essentially living in developing world conditions. Park Lawn is an unincorporated island that's surrounded by the city of Modesto. And what that means for the residents there is that even though they could literally cross the street and suddenly find themselves in the city of Modesto, they don't receive any services from the city of Modesto. I'm talking about things like sidewalks, storm drainage, sewer service, things that are really kind of modern day amenities. During heavy rains, streets get flooded and kids are jumping over puddles to get to the school bus. There are sewer lines that run on various sides of the community, but they can't tap into them because they're city sewer lines, and Park Lawn is not part of the city. Jose and Hortensia Franco have been living in Park Lawn for decades, and they feel that part of the reason that they've been excluded from the city is because there's some racial discrimination. Hortensia was part of a lawsuit that made that claim. In the end, they didn't win that lawsuit outright, but it's something that residents feel is at play. I'd have to say that if there is any overarching similarity between all of the communities, it's that they tend to be communities that are politically disenfranchised. So they tend to be low income, often monolingual Spanish speakers, and sometimes undocumented. One strategy for improving some of the infrastructure in unincorporated communities has come from the bottom up. So a lot of the residents in places like Park Lawn, in Modesto, like various other places across the state, there's been an effort by the residents to get more civically engaged and more politically active and begin to demand the kinds of services that they'd like to see. In Matheny Tract, which is a small community just outside of the city of Tulare in the Central Valley, there have been some improvements that have been made as a result of the community members getting together and talking and going to county board of supervisor meetings and just getting more civically and politically involved. Looks like they'll be able to connect to city water in the next year or so, and then hopefully sewer service will come online after that.
Now, this is an estimated per capita income 2016 data 2016 data in the Prince George's County area. Suitland, the capital area in the Suitland area, you're looking at, so you got it in the blue up the top. You see what we're talking about and how old the data is. This is 2016. I don't know how many different incomes we've had to increase in the Suitland family, or how many has decreased. We don't really know. But what we're talking about is we had a city. These data would be accurate because these census of the city would be taken more often than 3 years ago. This is 2016 data, and just to show you that, stop the slide, set it aside for yourself, so you can see the information that I obtained from park and planning. That's where these data come from, park and planning, and to give an idea of the latitude and longitude of what we're talking about with regards to us having our own a city, and we're going to still have the community. The community is just a city. Now look at the city of Bowie, for an example, stretching from Central Avenue all the way up to 295 Parkway and on 193, goes up throughout the whole process, is the city of Bowie. Large city, but yet and still encompasses a whole lot of communities, as well would be the city of Suitland. But yet and still the local tax dollars in those communities within the family of Suitland would be staying in the community as opposed to being held in the treasury of the state. We could have our own treasury unit or treasury department if we were to incorporate. Now I'm going to move on because I think I'm taking up too much time. Now here, these are data that I really put together. And what we're trying to show are the local taxes. Note I put it in yellow. We're only showing the local tax, and we're making an assumption or estimate that these data in 2018 were what they were in 2018. These data did not come from park and planning. These are data that I extracted myself and from different sources. But I'm just trying to show you, if you were to have a $50,000 income, your state tax would be $1,735, and your local tax would be $1,203. Local tax in the Suitland metropolitan, Suitland community are maintained and held by the state. The state collects both the local and the state tax, and when we file our tax return out of Suitland community, the state of Maryland holds on to both the state and the local tax. Local tax should be coming back to the local community to be used by the citizens of the state of Maryland for the local area. So if we were a municipality, then we could use our police department, our mayor, and our city employees, water, whatever, trash, whatever. So we're talking about a whole different operation. And this is just to show you cumulatively what it would be if you had a $100,000, $550,000, $200,000, $250,000, and $300,000. It would be cumulative, and what we're doing is taking the yellow, the local tax, and we're adding a cumulative to get the cumulative amount that we collected just using this little small sample. And I say a small sample because if we were to use what's down in the red, Camp Springs, Temple Hill, Hillcrest, Hanson Creek, Fort Washington, Suitland, which is not in the list, all these communities will be added. We're talking about a whole lot more in terms of collecting the local tax. These data should be perhaps accessible from the state of Maryland as well. I didn't go that far, but yet it could be possible for them to be extracted from the state of Maryland. So right now, we're going to go on with this presentation and try to go to our next estimate. And that's this estimate here, which is, these are data that I put together. And I'm saying that you take the $1,203 cumulative that we took a few minutes ago, if we had 350 households, see what the estimated amount of will be collected in that year. And B, if we had this is using the same data, only 350 households that we're using. And the 350 households is giving us, and you're looking at the bottom line, which I'm an accountant, that's what I try to look at sometimes, $17 million in terms of dollars that will be held into the local treasury of the city of Suitland, or the Suitland area. And then all those communities within the city of Suitland would have an interest in these local dollars for doing local things in the local community using local dollars. I can tell you now, I'm really kind of distraught over what has happened in the local area of the Route 5 in the county, because Route 5 is owned and operated by the state, and yet still there's potholes in the Hillcrest Heights area, walking on all up to the 200 zip code, the 202 zip code, that was the southeast Washington. It goes all the way up to the point of that, what you saw leaking out in the map a while ago. Well, there's holes that's been there for some time, and in 2017, I called this state about the holes and seeing children running across the street and cars ducking around the holes trying to almost hit the children, and nothing has happened since that time. And this is a Suitland, right at the Suitland metro station, where all these holes are. And I don't understand why the city of Suitland, if we were a city, we could maintain those areas if we had the dollars. But right now, the area is not maintained. The subways itself is supposedly maintained by the subway people, I guess. But nevertheless, the city, Suitland, would have an opportunity to repair the state's street, because Branch Avenue, or Route 5, is a state highway and not a county highway, nor would it be a city highway if we were to become a city. That's a story for another day. But these data just to show you the kind of local tax that could be collected out of the communities that we're talking about, and having our own treasury and money used for our mayor, city, police, or etc. Okay, now I'm going to go and give you a different slide than this slide, which is the summary of all, and we're talking about a little over $30 million in terms of using the local tax for 300. This is 950 households. You have 950 versus 350 households. What your tax would be. Now we're talking about quite a few households in the area that we're talking about of Suitland, Temple Hills, Hanson Creek, and all the other areas that we've named. It's quite a few households, but we're talking about the average income of being a small amount, really 100,000. And there are some households in all these areas where the household income exceeds 100,000. We only use 100,000 in this case to show what it would be if we had 950,000 people, households, and what our estimate would be. So now I'm going to completely get out of this, because I think I've exhausted the information that I have for myself, that I put in for myself. Now this upcoming video, or the 3 videos, we're going to show you now 3 videos, and these 3 videos are going to be making a comparison between you becoming incorporated and a community. Now, one of the videos is going to give you a direct, detailed information about how to incorporate in the state of Maryland. The information comes directly from Maryland, explaining how you as a community, Suitland, you as a community, Temple Hills, or wherever you are in the area, to become a city. And that data is on the video, but I'm suggesting to you that you hear it, because it's coming from the state itself. And then I will conclude it at the end of this process to give information that was collected by one of the other civic association's members that was not collected by me, but yet I thought it to be something that would be very important for all of us to have in our repertoire, to know what we need to know about what's going to be coming into the community for which we live. Okay, so watch these 3 videos, and then I'll be right back.
You are about to learn how to form a for-profit corporation in Maryland. After downloading the business formation packages and listening to this instructional video, you'll be just a few simple steps away from completing this important task. Links to the documents I'll refer to are listed below this video. Begin now by downloading and printing the business formation packages. In them, you'll find everything you need to form your company. Package 1 contains Process Overview, Checklist, and Corporation Worksheet. Package 2 contains Maryland Instruction Sheet, Articles of Incorporation, Expedited Request Fax Cover Sheet, Letter of Transmittal, and Maryland Form 1 with instructions. Package 3 contains IRS Forms SS4 and 2553. Your next task is to review the procedural guides. Here, you'll learn about forming and maintaining a corporation in general. Review the state instruction sheet. Here, you'll learn about forming and maintaining a corporation in your home state. You are now ready to complete the corporation worksheet. Here, you'll compile all the information you need to form your new company, complete various post-formation tasks, and remain in compliance with the state. Completing the worksheet now will save you considerable time in the long run. 3 areas of the worksheet deserve special consideration. They are naming your company, selecting a registered agent, and determining quantity, class, and par value of authorized shares. Let's start with naming your company. Select 2 or 3 names that you like and verify that a name you want is available by conducting an entity name search on the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation website. The entity search link is included on the Maryland instruction sheet. Your company name must end with a corporate designator or its abbreviation. If you intend to have a website and want your URL or domain name to be the same as or similar to your company name, you'll need to verify that your company name is available as a domain name by using a service such as GoDaddy or FatCow. You must also make sure that your company name does not conflict with any trademark, service mark, or copyright by visiting uspto.gov and copyright.gov. Next, you must select a resident agent for service of process. The resident agent does not need to be a shareholder, director, officer, or employee of the company. The resident agent may either be a Maryland resident or active Maryland business that has a Maryland street address and consents to accept legal papers in the company's behalf. Your company should not act as its own resident agent. You can, however, personally serve as a resident agent for your company, provided that you reside in Maryland and have a Maryland street address. Finally, determine the quantity of authorized shares. Maryland bases their filing fee on the quantity of shares you specify in the Articles of Incorporation, or the combined par value of shares. As a general guideline, you'll want to authorize the maximum number of shares for the minimum fee. The $120 minimum fee allows you to have a maximum of 5,000 shares of no par value common stock or par value common stock that does not exceed $100,000. Once you've completed the worksheet, you're ready to complete the Articles of Incorporation. Enter all of the relevant information: name and address of each incorporator, company name, business purpose, principal office address, resident agent name and address, quantity and par value of authorized shares, number of directors and the names of the initial directors, signature of each incorporator, registered agent's signature of consent, and a filing party's return address. Complete the fax cover sheet for expedited service if filing by facsimile. Prepare the letter of transmittal. Provide your name and mailing address, date, company name, and signature. Submit the completed documents along with a photocopy of each and your filing fees to the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation. You'll receive a stamped copy of your filed Articles of Incorporation at the address you specified in the letter of transmittal. This document should be kept with your company records. Now it's time to handle post-formation tasks. Apply for your Federal Employer Identification Number on IRS Form SS4. If you are electing S Corporation status, you must file IRS Form 2553 within 75 days of when the election is to take place. Next, you need to open your company bank account, hold your initial organizational meeting, adopt bylaws, appoint directors and officers, and issue shares. Finally, you'll need to complete ongoing compliance tasks. Maryland corporations must pay a $300 minimum property tax and file an annual business property tax return no later than April 16th. Maryland corporations must file an income tax on Form 500 even if it has no taxable income or the corporation is inactive. And there you have it. Follow these simple steps to form and maintain your new corporation, and you'll be well on your way to a successful business. And thanks for allowing us to be your guide. Reference 180, Business Success Made Simple.
Santa Monica was the first city in the world to do this.
There's no other local government that's ever done this.
Every community, every neighborhood needs this kind of conversation.
A thriving community means more than just the typical economic markers.
Our social infrastructure is a thing. It's something that really matters.
Do people feel optimistic? Do they feel connected to one another? What is well-being? What are the drivers of well-being?
It can be measured and it can be improved.
The leadership of the city decided to apply for this kind of nifty award called the Bloomberg Mayor's Innovation Challenge.
Santa Monica was one of 300 cities that applied for that call.
It was a really challenging competition.
Santa Monica was selected as one of 5 winners.
We knew that the idea was really impactful and that if Santa Monica succeeded, many other cities would benefit from it.
Well-being is an interesting word because it can mean something in the individual context that makes us think of wellness and our physical health. We're really using it in the civic context.
So what is civic well-being? It's creating a city that puts into place conditions for every member of that community to thrive and flourish.
Economic opportunity, mobility, civic engagement.
It's about maximizing potential.
Well-being is really an organizing framework and a way of doing business. And so that means looking at your budget very differently.
What are the things that actually move the needle? How do you measure what improves the health and well-being of a community?
And that led us to the partnership with RAND.
RAND was a tremendous resource.
RAND's kind of been hand in hand with us since the beginning of this project.
Helping us develop the Well-Being Index.
An index which could measure how we're doing and then use that for better governance.
Our role was to bring the science of well-being.
One of the great parts about working with the city of Santa Monica was their interest and willingness to explore new kinds of data.
We knew that it wasn't good enough to just have a resident survey.
Looking at the data that we have inside the city with private sector data, nonprofit data, even social media data.
We really take advantage of some of the structural parts of social media. Who are people connected to, and how do they engage and interact with those people?
And then we understood city government, that you have budget cycles and you have elections and you've got a lot of things to balance.
What's important to your community? What's important to your residents?
We've seen a tremendous amount of interest from the press and from other cities.
Cities wanting to replicate our work, which is really, really exciting.
Cities are going to be the engine of change in the world.
If we searched the whole world, we'd be hard-pressed to find a better partner than the one that was right across the street.
What we've done here in partnership with RAND is to redefine what matters.
Good morning, it's the Internet Freak with more ghetto footage, this time bringing you live footage from Suitland, Maryland, another armpit of our nation's capital region. Here at the corner of Suitland Road and Silver Hill Road. Silver Hill Road, is that it? And there's a sign there, Suitland Caring Community. And make the left-hand turn here. Let's see what we got here. We got the M&D Dollar Store. The beauty supply place. And we got Ideal Cleaners. We got some Mexican restaurant, Suitland Liquors. And the Suitland Shopping Center, the Hispanic supermarket, the pawn shop, God's International Church and Academy, Suitland Discount, 4 Stars Hair, Smith's Tax, Budget Furniture. Wow, I got some good shit in there. China Sea, Royce's TV Repair. And over here we got the laundromat and the Tropicana laundromat next to the post office. Probably the only legitimate business here, although they're going out of business very soon. Shell gas station. What we got here? We got the Suitland auto service place. Yeah, this is awesome. The porn capital of the world. I think there's a bar up here somewhere, like a liquor store bar or something like that, for all your alcoholic needs. Oh yeah, this is he's probably the only guy on the corner there. You see him behind there picking up the garbage? He's probably the only guy around who has a real job. Love it. And we can't say I have a real job. I don't know what I do. Just kind of drive around and take pictures of stuff. Auto service, have my Ferrari fixed there. Wade's Collision Center. And this is a highlight right here. This is we got the this one Matt's being pulled over for. We got the drive-through. Oh, there's a guy delivering Budweiser. Hey, Bud guy. A Miller Genuine Draft. We got the drive-through 7 a.m., 6 a.m. No, 7 days. 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. Liquor, beer, and wine. And absolute wild tea. Cocktails perfected. Love it. Let's go in there later. Stop in there after work. Oh, and there's a guy getting his drive-through. Love it. Look at that. Guy doing his drive-through on a bike. Getting his 40. See what's he getting here. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't. Come on, guy. Don't let me down. I want to see your 40. What's this guy doing? There you go. There's the old paper bag. And he's going to ride off into the sunrise. Better day. Yep. So there you go. That's downtown Suitland. Good stuff. And from Suitland, Maryland, this is the Internet Freak. I'll be bringing you more tombstones. Look at that. Awesome. Great. I'll be bringing you more very, very soon. Until then, see ya.
All right. Again, I told you I would tell you who I am. My name is David Richardson. And I believe that 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. That is, I believe that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is just one God. That's why you see that. And it was in another presentation that I used. I put my pictures up 3 times to let you see I'm only one person. That's God. There's only one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And I'm asking you to consider what I have in the red. That's to live your life thinking outside of a box, but to always be truthful in the way you live, as we all try to be. Now, in the conclusion of this, I'm going to now give you information that's being presented by another member of the Suitland Civic Association. I just thought these data that he sent out to the members of the community and also to the association were very useful and meaningful to those who are doing this process. Now, I'm going to just highlight what I see, and hopefully you, after you get an understanding of the information there and the emails and the phone numbers that there, you could obtain additional information that will be beneficial for you as well. All right. Now, here are data that the gentleman sent, and it's showing us really information about this qualified opportunity program that's being presented by the state of Maryland. And you're going to see information in this presentation where the gentleman put information in, the detailed information. I'm going not to do a whole lot of talking about it because the information is pretty much self-explanatory, but you do have to take your time and go through the process to see it. And then I will come back at the end. I'm not going to do a lot of talking. I'm just going to let you slip it so you can see what the information is, and you can also stop it and go back and forth in this presentation without having to concern yourself a lot. Okay. The background. Now, I did take and give some information about and breaking down the information like the what you see, the NMTC, and I put that on in the process also to show you what it means. Okay, here you go down here, the definition that you see in the red and the yellow and the different colors. These are information that's used in the QO zone, means the qualified opportunity zone, whereas the capital gain is a CG. They got that information also expressed above. And the QO fund, that's the qualified opportunity fund. The NMTC is the new market tax credit, and that's something that you really should get an understanding of. And the CDFI, that's the fund, that's the Community Development Financial Institution fund, and the FMV is the fair market value. These are information that you need to want to adhere to and make sure you get an understanding and go back and forth and take a look at it. This is data that came from, excuse me, from a general on our civil association. I won't give his name because I didn't get permission to do that. But anyway, step 1 through 7, make sure you understand these data, and that's what he's trying to express to you and I to get an understanding. And then above all, I get in God said, get an understanding, and the understanding will take us further. And then there's also something else I tell my family and my wife all the time, that people, there are 2 things that happen to me and my work that I do. People hear what I say, but they don't listen to what I'm saying. And that's something really that God told the Son of Man. So they're not going to listen. Where they'll hear you, but they won't listen to what you're saying. So I hope for you to hear what I'm saying and understand it and go back and study it, because it is here for your purpose, and hopefully for you to have the desire I have for your community to have some of the funds that's going out to come back into the community in terms of the tax dollars that we put out. By us not being a city, we don't have any say of the dollars that's being coming back into our own community that's being housed and held by the state. Again, this is the opportunity that he's saying. All the information you see up in the orange or the that's the information that I took, that you're going to see. This is just the beginning of the Maryland Opportunity Zone. The governor of the state of Maryland, is what the gentleman is letting us see, has put these data and made this available for the citizens in the state. And the community is where we live, in the Suitland community, is earmarked for us if we just take advantage of the opportunity. So make sure you pay attention to this. And there are websites on here where you can go back and look at this information in the live status. And you won't have to do it through this presentation that I'm making for you here. But yet and still, again, at the top, you'll see home, but this is a home. You'll see homeowners and rent. You'll see business lendings. You'll see communities, housing development, energy efficiency, investments, and opportunity zones. These data is what we're going to be going through now. The first one is home. That's this page here. Stop it and make sure you get understanding if you're not going to access it. And this data here is part of that home page that you see, and you see information exchange, incentive to look up. You'll see adding my listing and fact sheets. All these data is what the gentleman was hoping of us to take advantage of in making the presentation to the members of the Civic Association. You see up at the top, you see home and rent. Well, that's what this is all about. You see reduced 70% after housing repair. Well, all these data is what you're going to get when you go to these data that you see on the screen. I'm live what I'm talking about, but the information here is just in this PowerPoint presentation, but I took them exactly from where you see. So if you were to take your mouse and hover it over the business lending, you'd come up to this page here, business lending page. And what the business lending page is telling you about the business owners expected to 500% growth after securing a loan. That's what's expected to happen in the state of Maryland in your community. But we got to move. You cannot move. You cannot get the tree to fall unless you cut it down. So we got to take the first step in order to do that, in order to take advantage of the opportunities that's being presented by the state of Maryland Housing and Community Development. The housing and the community development that you see above this gentleman's head is where this data came from. And then this information here that you see is the community development itself. That information is coming directly from the information that you see above. So you see all this is a part of the process. 8 new homes. Now this is the habitat, as you know about them. This is 8 new homes, but 8 homes, that's not, that should be 800. It'll be a whole different thing, but 800, right? So these data is coming from what I'm telling you now Again, the housing development, you see, housing development saying 84 low-income housing in Section 8 units. Well, these data is something that the governor of the state is affording to the citizens to have. Make sure that you understand what's being presented, and there's written data that you can see, but this is just to introduce you to this, like the, okay. All right, so 0% or $0, they say, out of pocket for energy, furnace, repair in the winter. So what he's saying is this is affordable for you now. You should take advantage of this. You won't have to pay any money out of pocket for your home to be efficiently with heat and air. It says if it's going to have in the wintertime the right heat, in the summer it has to have the right air. So what we're talking about is efficiency, and that's what this is, zero pocket. He said, and I want to stress that $0 out of pocket for energy, furniture, repair in the winter. It does say winter, but if you winterize it, it'll also be well for the summer. Now I'm going to move on with this because I've taken up too much of your time with the span of the videos. And here are the investments. I did put an arrow here so you can see how to get in touch with to get this information. The blue arrow I put there myself to show what the gentleman gave is to show you how to get in a phone number and a website to show you how to get these data that he sent to me that I just took out and put into this presentation for you. That's really what I'm trying to say. And I'm almost at the end of this process now. Well, I am at the end. I want to thank you for letting me take up so much of your valuable time. I thank you for watching the videos that we presented, and hope for those videos, go back and watch them over and over again and make sure you understand what they are presenting, because what this whole presentation is about is for you and I. We live in the community of Suitland, Maryland, to become a city. If we live in Camp Springs or any of the surrounding area, Hanson Creek, all these other areas, Temple Hill, and that's one of those messages I was talking about just now coming out. If we live in these areas, then we can have what we really want to have, more of our tax dollars back in our pocket. Thank you for watching this. This is David. I want to thank you over and over again for letting me take up so much of your valuable time. Bye-bye.